What's up, my humans? You have reached the Conscious Hotline. I'm Altaire. I'm a co-host of this podcast, and I'm really excited to have a really good friend of mine join the show today. And we're going to be talking about his work in the nonprofit sector in Panama City. And Alberto and I met at a conference in Rome with the United Nations Mountain Partnership in 2017 at the Food and Agriculture Organization site. And we've just been friends ever since. So I'm going to try and figure out how, Alberto, you have to request to join the podcast. So let's see here. Here we go. Excellent. Okay.
Hey, Altaire, how you doing? Good afternoon.
Hello, so good to see you.
Too.
Good morning. Good morning in Panama City.
Good morning. Good afternoon in Switzerland.
Thank you. So, how is it in Panama City right now with COVID? Give us a little glimpse into the daily life.
Yes, it's very weird because it's like you can, in the weekend, for example, tomorrow and Saturday, it's all the people needs to be out inside home. And when you think in weekend, you think in hanging out with friends, and right now it's like very difficult situations, and you need to move to the city very and you can go outside the city, you know, like for the interior, and for example, you need to stay in home and you go only to supermarket and pharmacy, and that's all. And we need to wait until all the thing of COVID they improve in the city. Yes.
Yes, that's right. Okay, well, I appreciate the fact that you can hang out with us today and that we're still globally connected somehow. And in the course of this conversation, I hope to give people more of a glimpse into the work that you do, especially with indigenous groups and women and youth in Panama. So we like to start the podcast by asking our guest a question that lets us know a little bit about your personality and maybe a fun fact about you. So today I wanted to ask, what is your favorite Disney movie and why?
Oh, my Disney movie favorite is Lion King.
Yes, nice. I can see that.
Yeah, because I really love Africa.
Oh, cool.
I love Africa, and this movie is like show the nature and all the elements of the history and places in Africa. I love the Africa.
Yeah, that's
all the stories inside, all the nature, everything in Africa, I love. Yeah.
Well, I know that you travel a lot for work because, you are a filmmaker and you are the founder and director of Fundación CoMunidad, which is a nonprofit organization based in Panama. And you speak at conferences about the work that you do. I know that you travel with your films to make sure that you're getting these stories out to larger audiences all over the world. So why don't you go ahead and describe to us one of your most significant projects at the moment and what it's about?
Oh, right now for a filmmaker or a project like the implement. What is the film or?
Talk about a film because your films are amazing.
Okay. Yeah, I just finished a new documentary the title is It Tastes Great, and it's a story about women's mothers. And the idea is of the document is like the documentary is to show that uh, all the things that the mothers, he needs to do
Yes.
to improve his life from his families. And this is very local, you know, but when you see like the whole story, all the idea is like all the people around the world, they understand perfectly, because all the people we have maybe in the same position, the same situation, and like we have mothers, we have families, you know, and all the families around the world need to do the same process, you know. And for that reason, this project is it's very special right now. We send it for like 7 different film festival, and we wait for the results and where we can present it in some different places in the world, you know. And we planning next year to present another festival and another film. It's about orchid, the story of orchids and
Oh,
women.
orchids. Orchids. I love orchids. And there are so many special species of orchid in Panama. Is that right? Very unique.
Yes, it's very typical, and it's like very, yes, it's unique, very special for Panama. And for that reason, we shoot the documentary, and we hope that next year will be ready, and I hope, cross the fingers, that will be present in Switzerland or Europe too.
Oh, we're going to get you into the Locarno Film Festival. I have a feeling, Alberto, we're going to make that happen. So, you know, I
Okay.
love that what you do is you tap into the ability of storytelling to
Yeah.
unite cultures and peoples and lifestyles and perspectives around the world. And
Yeah.
so, you know, part of the title of this interview today, you know, we said we wanted to talk about being rich, not wealthy necessarily.
Yeah.
You know, there are ways of being rich. There are ways of feeling full in life that
Yeah.
don't have to do with material possessions. And I'm wondering if you can pull some of those themes out in terms of this film that you're making about women and traditional cooking and you know, the cultural aspects of cuisine and family.
Great. Uh, I really love your question. Really, it's very interested if you see to explore in this way, you know, because sometimes when you think in when you want to tell or to give some story for people around the world, you think like in the huge or big issues, you know, like for example, like climate change, for example, um, poverty, you know.
Yeah.
Some the people believe in the huge problems, you know, like in things that maybe we can handle well, you know, like only the governments and all the stuff. But we want to present very simple, but very powerful, you know. It's like if you present in Africa, or you present in Switzerland, or you present in Australia, you understand perfectly, you know. And in this documentary, it's like you see, uh, it's like all the people in the youth peoples in mountain, they move to the cities, you know, like
Yes.
they want to see like new opportunities, you know, like you have one to have a better job, have a better education outside the mountain. And in this moment right now, all the knowledge, you know, like the traditional knowledge for the people in these places, they are loose, you know, like
Right.
all this like disappear, you know. And and the idea is like to show the world these places that the knowledge traditional knowledge for the women's and culinary techniques they use, right? Like from this place, you know. And in this way, like to see like connect all these aspects, you know, to, for example, women's ecosystems, traditional knowledge, food, you know, and you have the same, like you make a draw, you know, like a place like to see it. And in this way, like, do people understand perfect how this is the message, you know, like it's not only, you only don't need to focus on the big issues. You can be very local, but you can show the reach of these places, you know, like how the people cook the food, how are the techniques, you know. And for example, like it's, even in here in Panama, the people, they don't know these recipes, you know. And for us, we are like strange, you know, like why this, we are from this place, you know, and the people in here, they don't know about these recipes, you know. Imagine if you present outside Panama, you know, like it's complete different, you know, the perspective, the environment, all the things, they connect well, you know.
You know, yes, because cooking is something that you can experience beyond having to translate a language.
Yes.
Right? It doesn't require language to know how to chop an onion and a tomato and to mix it with eggs. I remember when I was, for example, living in Indonesia, and I was
Yeah.
living on a very remote island, and I had just started working there, and I just started learning Indonesian, and I was living with a local family, and we couldn't really talk about the day except in very simple terms, but every night my homestay mother, Ibu Jero, she would teach me how to cook some kind of an Indonesian dish, whether it was an omelet or fried bananas or whatever it was. I ate very well that summer, I have to say. And so we could cook together without speaking, and there was no need to exchange words, because it was very universal experience.
That is the point that you said before. It's like it's a universal language, you know, like all the people around the world, they understand perfectly. And you don't need to present something like all the people wants to present, like very like things that doing like in the news, you know, like you turn the TV, or you open your computer, and you see, every time you see the same histories, you know, like, and sometimes like so boring, you know, like you
Yeah.
want to see more than that kind of things, you know. The world wants to see a different things, you know, like very unique, very completely see it that they don't see before. And and the cooking and the food, they give this opportunity that you say, that it's a universal language. And how connect all the people, like families and women around these activities, you know. And this is the rich thing that I saw in this movie. And we have a good critics from the documentary. And we will be present soon, I think so, yes.
I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see it, Alberto. So,
Thank
you know,
you.
from living in communities in the jungle, you know, being able to spend time with people who are still living very much like a village lifestyle in a more rural environment in the mountains, these people might not necessarily have a vast array of material possessions, especially compared to people who are living in the urban centers of Central America. But what have you noticed in terms of these other practices or these other aspects of their culture or what they value in their well-being that makes them rich somehow?
Yeah, us, it's when you've been there, for example, in rural areas, you know, outside the cities, it's common that the people, they are more solidary for his neighbors, you know,
Yes.
friends. They help too many place, the people that they are neighbors, they work in the same place, they help a lot, you know, like they are more common in this place, and they make like they organize like groups, you know, to make, for example, cooperative, you know,
Mm.
like, and they have, and they make, they entrepreneur together, you know. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, it's one of the issues that I saw in these places, that and they are very close with the nature, you know, like all the things that always connect with nature and people, they are more close to this, if you compare from the city, because sometimes in the city you have a lot of things to do, you know, like work, many things, and the traffic jam, you know, and sometimes these places you have more time to see the basic thing, the most important thing. There are the
Mm-hmm.
family, for example, nature, you know, and that is the point that really wants to show in our projects and our documentary or histories, you know, like try to see what is how to look and what is the real world in these places.
Yes, yes, and asking the question, what are the most important things in life? Because even if you have nothing, in terms of you have very little in your bank account, or you have a few assets, to have a strong community, to have a relationship with nature and the cycles of nature and the spirit of nature and the magic of nature, I have to say, you know,
Yeah,
these are incredible important aspects of being human and alive. And when I was living in Indonesia and doing development projects there, and I would ask the local people, how do you define well-being? Let's rank what's most important to you in terms of your well-being. And overwhelmingly, the response that I would receive is, I want to have a positive reputation in my community. I want to have integrity, and I want people to be able to respect me as an elder, as a provider in this community.
yes, it's one of the main issues that we want to connect, for example, for the documentary the next year, from the orchid, you know, that I told you before. It's like all the activities, it's around this orchid, you know, like, for example, the people, they work to conserve this orchid, first of all.
Hmm.
Second, the economy, you know, they make affairs, you know,
Hmm.
and all the people go there to go and see what happens there, you know. And for example, it's like, and for example, in culture and social, this nature, this orchid connect with all the people. They make all the elements of sustainable development. But the center, it's not like a typical thing, you know. It's an orchid, it's a plant, you know. All things happens around this orchid, and that is the thing that we need to present, to show to the world, you know, to see the other world is possible, you know. It's like to see other stories, they have can tell other ideas and see another perspective. This is the most important thing, that the people know that they have another perspective to the world, you know, and other ways to see the life. Yes.
That's beautiful. You know, yes, we need to be traveling sometimes to the most remote, hidden pockets of the
Yeah.
human experience to
Yes.
remember what it is to be alive. We don't find it in the middle of London. We don't find it in the middle of New York. We often find it in these very remote areas.
Yes. And when you go there, you can like, you think too many things and reflect around your
Hmm.
life in in the city and the
Mm-hmm.
places, and you make you want to make like a balance, you know, like
So
a
true.
balance between your city, your life, and the places that be, and you are more conscious to make a better human, you know, like to understand better the world that we live, you know, like try to understand is one of the first point that we need to do, you know.
Beautifully said. You know, and in the last maybe 10 minutes or so that we have left, you know, I'm really intrigued by this positive mindset that you apply to so many of your projects, your initiatives. You know, you were able to found and are now directing a nonprofit organization that has an incredible spectrum of services that you're providing to local communities. You're traveling all over the world. You know, you and I met in Rome, Italy, for example, at the Food and Agriculture Organization, which is, you know, a part of the United Nations infrastructure. And I can appreciate how difficult it is to work in the nonprofit sector, because you're always looking for more grant funding. You're always having to look at your budgets and make sure that you're doing things as cheaply as possible. You're constantly having to monitor and evaluate projects in order to give results back to the people who actually are funding what it is that you're doing. It's a lot of work. It is a lot to pay attention to. And so I would love for you to share with us, you know, what are some of the mindset tools that you apply in your daily workflow to help you stay committed and on track for these projects?
Yeah, it's very interesting, your question. It's very interesting. It's first of all, I think that I think my experience, you know, it's the first point. It's you need to do the thing that you are in passion, you know. If you passion with something, it's the first step to do it, you know. If you are not passion, you are not like your work, it's impossible to continue, you know, like to
Yeah.
continue and make success in your process. This is the first step. And the second is like I see like it's very interesting, it's very interdisciplinary, you know. And in this way you can try to learn from many people, like are around you, the people that you work, all the people that like the organization that you've been be in touch, your partners, you know. It's a very rich process. It's not only the way your point of view, you know, it's a process that you learn about another people, another culture, you know. It's in this way, it's like it's and then another good point is like you need to be like innovate, you know, like make different things that another NGO, for example, or projects. You need to use your creativity, you know, like
Yes.
like it's another good point that you need to work hard to show the people that another ways to make things, you know, like. And it's like passion, creativity, like be open to understand the people and understand another point of view, because sometimes when you like study and you study hard and you think that your idea is the only way, you know, it's like the only point, and they don't hear about another point of view around you, you know. And sometimes it's you make like mistakes, you know, because you think that your idea is the best one, you know. And when you've been in work around this kind of projects, you need to hear a lot of things around you and try to, for example, to understand better the things that are around, not only your point of view.
Amazing. So passion, learning,
Yeah.
creativity, listening.
Yeah.
You know, and what advice would you give people who have very, very busy careers and schedules like you do, and they might be prone to worrying? They might worry, you know, where's my next client coming from? You know, oh, this aspect of the project I'm working on is failing. We're not meeting our goals. We're not meeting our deadlines. And people start to worry. What would you say in response to that?
I think that it's it's very hard sometimes because there are people that are pushed to have successful and get more money and wealthy, you know, sometimes. But you need to have like a balance to see what is the priorities to do for you, for your for example, for yourself, you know. It's like you need to be like put all the points in balance, you know, like sometimes you are push well, like push your work, but try to um, make a balance between all the elements of your work, your all the things, your relationship, and try to see what, because it's very hard sometimes because you need this kind of your income, you know, to have your pay accounts, you know, and sometimes the people, they don't have another options, you know, like for example for working. And my idea is not only to develop one idea. The idea is like to make different projects and see what is the balance and see what can be work well in different point of view.
Right. So paying attention to what is working, appreciating what does produce joy and happiness and
Yes.
a positive impact. Is that right?
Yeah. It's the same point that I said. If you are passionate with something, you may be more focused in one area and you are try to keep balance in this area because you like the project, you like the idea, you like the thing that you do, and this way you enjoy a lot, you know, all the process. And it's hard to enjoy if you don't like the play, your work or the projects, you know.
Absolutely.
And this way it's the thing that we need to focus in this experience of try to get your best of you, you know, like it's the best thing. You can do the best for you, your work.
So, you know, if you were having a conversation with someone right now who is in front of you and they were really worried, they were really stressed about something that was going on in their lives, what, in a couple sentences, what advice would you give that person in that moment?
Oh, I think that all the people in the world we face, and we are sometimes we have in the same position, you know. And I think that the psychological, it's the most important thing to see, to broke these problems, you know, like sometimes you are worried, sometimes in very small things. But if you go outside and think another way, and for example, you go out and you talk with friends, and the idea to talk, they help a lot to see what alternative, because we are focused only sometimes in small in projects and problems, but you need to go outside, you know. And sometimes only the big problems they are we in our head, in your head, you know. And it's the thing that we need to go out and talk with friends and try to understand better what is the real problems, because sometimes they are not really a big problem, just only we are only in our head, in their heads. Yeah.
Such a good point. It's such a good point. You know, we kind of torture ourselves by worrying
Yes.
about things all day long, because
Idea.
outside of us, it's not really happening.
Yeah, it's sometimes it's ideas, you know. It's like you've been in deep in your ideas, and when you broke these scenes, you can be better. You can make another options and see what is the real things that outside your ideas. You know, it's only like psychological sometimes the problems, and
Yes.
need to support with friends and people that are very close to you. And I think that see what is the best options and do it your best effort. That's all, you know, like if
Mm,
you do your best effort and the things they don't work, you'll be happy because you do the best effort. That's all.
brilliant. Brilliant. Well, thank you for sharing so many inspiring lessons with us today. Thank you for giving us a glimpse into your projects and what you're passionate about, Alberto. And I'll make sure that in the notes for this show, there's a link to your website so that people can eventually watch the documentary and to follow the work that you're doing in Panama. So
Thank you, Altaire, and for sure, anything that we can contact or we help for your projects, we are really for connects people. Yeah, we need to do this
well,
this way.
I'm coming to see these orchids. I'm inviting myself. I'm really excited. I have to come and study the
Okay,
botany
yeah.
in these
You
communities. So.
you are welcome, and maybe I will can send it like a trailer for the documentary from next year. And
Excellent.
yeah, and we can send it for like the information for the fair and all the things that the activities that we need to want to present to the world, you know, because sometimes
Absolutely.
it's be very local, but we want to make more uh, globally, and people understand the good practices that the people doing in another places.
Well, we at the Conscious Hotline would be very happy to post your trailer to the documentary and to raise awareness about the incredible work that you're doing. So thank you so much, Alberto. And I'll say adios.
Adios.
Until next time. Hasta luego.
Hasta luego. Bye.